610 WTVN.
On the LegacyRetirementGroup.com phone line, say good morning to Joel Patterson, workplace expert, and he heads up the Vested Group. Good morning, Joel. How are you, sir?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Fantastic. So, the story is not going to be surprising, I think, to a lot of folks my age and older, that recent college graduates, these are smart kids that have gone to a four-year school and they've gotten their degree. Now they're trying to get a job. They're going into job interviews, Joel, and they're failing mainly because they have zero communication skills. What's going on here?
Yeah, I think, you hate to denigrate an entire generation, and we're not doing that. But there does seem to be some consistency in how some of the younger folks are coming out of college and what they're bringing to the table right out of the gate, right? They're showing up inappropriately dressed, messy hair, not done any research on the organization or who they're going to be speaking to. They struggle with eye contact. And a lot of these things you'll find are not complicated. It's pretty basic, just soft skills activities, but nevertheless, very important. And here's one thing that came out of a survey recently that I think is a sign of, I don't know what it's a sign of actually. It's got that 20% of employers that took this survey said that their recent grad showed up to their interview with a parent. And I don't know if they were just getting a ride or if they actually, had cue cards or how they were trying to help them. But it doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think that, when you think about how they're presenting themselves and then potentially bringing a parent along, it speaks to the issue overall.
Well, it's fascinating. And as I said in the intro, they're making it through college and they're getting degrees, presumably. So it's not like they're not smart kids. They're following through their education. They're getting the degree, but as you say, soft skills are lacking. And it's, social media is an easy target, and rightfully so. It's under fire here in the news here the last couple of days. But, people at their age, they're staring at their phones. They're not having actual interactions with human beings like, maybe you and I did as kids, where you'd go out and you'd play and you'd problem solve with your friends on, running around on the street. These kids today aren't doing that, and that's, I think, translating into the workforce.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And, colleges have something to say about this, too. They've got to do a better job of investing in these kind of skills. Their whole point is to be able to bring people out of school, and they're not going to know everything, but at least be able to transition into a career. And it's pretty clear if they're spending all of their time on their phones and not really thinking about how they interact. The other thing that's really important about that is critical thinking. When they are looking at their phones all the time, they're getting a lot of data and quote-unquote facts from that social media. And my kids do this all the time. They'll spout some fact that they just heard, and you just look at them and you think, well, did you think about whether or not that's accurate? Because it doesn't make any logical sense. And I think that when they come into an occupation or in an office, they've got to be even more aware of the fact that, all right, let me use my brain and not just assume what somebody else said, and bring that to bear in my conversations.
Joel Patterson on the LegacyRetirementGroup.com phone line, workplace expert. Generation Z college grads are struggling in job interviews and not getting jobs, and employers are taking notice to the point where these kids aren't getting hired, and the hiring managers and the decision makers are actually starting to hire older workers for some of these positions, aren't they?
They are. It's less risk. So you think about the ramp-up time for a newer employee, and it's extended quite a bit for some, especially with remote work, which may or may not apply. But even though we're kind of coming down a little bit on that generation, one thing to keep in mind is the real issue here in conjunction with that is the older folks, the managers of these people. Because you can't go into this situation and just think, well, this is the way I've always done it, so they just need to get on board. That's just not going to work in the long run. Thinking that you shouldn't have to change your ways is not being a good manager. You got to think about how you empower them, how you coach them. Don't micromanage them. The upside is that they're very comfortable with technology. They want to work in places that are going to have an impact on the world. They've got motivation. You just got to figure out the right way to tap into it.
So that's the million-dollar question there. Joel Patterson, workplace expert, heading up the Vested Group. How do we address this? How do we teach these kids these quote-unquote soft skills so they can go into these interviews, look the person in the eye, have a firm handshake, ask valid questions, and be responsive when they're asked direct questions?
A lot of it's just focusing on interview techniques, and hopefully career centers are looking at this. I know when I was in college, we did this, but you got to integrate more of the practical training into their curriculum, focus on interviewing, workplace etiquette, and then ultimately provide some real world scenarios that allow people to understand what they should be learning. Sometimes that stuff just goes over people's heads, and you've got to really be intentional about how you're explaining it and what the expectations are.
And in my experience, Joel, I've seen some of these younger people come in for job interviews, and they have an unrealistic expectation of what they should be making and all of the benefits that come with the job they're applying for. Like they think they should be out of college making, and depending on the industry that they're going into, they think they should be making six-figure salaries, get a company car, have 6 weeks paid vacation, and you're just like, the entitlement is off the charts here. You're coming in, and you're going to be a bottom rung person for a while. You've got to earn your stripes.
Yeah, the crazy thing about them too is they are not afraid to ask. I've been asked
exactly
some crazy requests, whether it's salary or time off or working remotely after I've been working there a week. It's just they're willing to ask. So there's something beneficial about that. They just need to recognize the context a little bit more.
Yeah, I know. I appreciate the stones to come in and ask for what you want, but you got to be able to read the room when you're coming in, and you're at the mercy of this hiring manager, and you got to, kind of just accept the position as it is, and then work your tail off and climb the ladder like everybody else.
There you go. There's the soft skills in play again, or lack thereof.
Absolutely. Joel Patterson, workplace expert, heads up the Vested Group. Thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate you.
Thank you.